They came from nowhere, no temples, no kings, no words carved in stone, only ash, fire, and fear. The Huns, phantoms of the steppe, descended like a storm upon the dying Roman world, and the world would never be the same. This is not the story of a civilization. It is the story of devastation, of a ghostly force that cracked the foundations of empires, and whose very name would haunt Europe for centuries. Long before Attila's name spread terror, the world asked a single question: where did these horsemen come from? The Roman authors didn't know, the Gothic tribes didn't know, the people who saw them barely lived long enough to ask, but historians now believe the Huns rode out of Central Asia, heirs to steppe nomads who had terrified China centuries before. Perhaps they were descendants of the Xiongnu, ancient enemies of the Han dynasty, or maybe a new force born in the crucible of the steppes. What's certain is this: they moved like wind, struck like thunder, and vanished like smoke. The Huns were not farmers, they built no cities, they worshipped no pantheon carved in marble, they lived in motion. They were mounted archers, trained from childhood to ride and kill from horseback. Their bows were composite, short, compact, and deadly. Their horses were small, tough, and tireless. They didn't fight in lines, they swarmed, they surrounded, they vanished, and returned again. To the sedentary world of Rome and Persia, this was alien warfare, fast, wild, unpredictable, unbeatable. By the late 4th century, the Huns crossed the Volga River, and Europe trembled. Their arrival triggered a chain reaction. The Goths fled west, crashing into Roman borders. In 376, desperate and starving, they begged Rome for asylum. Rome let them in, but the system broke. Corruption, famine, and betrayal boiled into rebellion. In 378, at the Battle of Adrianople, the Goths slaughtered a Roman army, and Emperor Valens with it, all because of the Huns. The Romans didn't know the Huns, but they knew the dominoes were falling. Soon the Huns turned their gaze south, toward Rome itself, and they weren't coming to negotiate. Then came Attila. They called him the Scourge of God, the Destroyer, the man who spoke softly but held the fate of emperors in his hands. He didn't build an empire of stone, he built an empire of fear. He rose beside his brother Bleda, and together, they ruled the Huns with iron unity, until Attila wanted more. In 445, Bleda died. Murdered? Perhaps. Attila became sole ruler. Now nothing restrained him. He struck the Eastern Roman Empire like a hammer. He crossed the Danube. He demanded gold, and when gold wasn't enough, he took blood. Cities were burned, towns were erased, Roman pride shattered. By 447, Constantinople itself trembled. But plague and bribes bought Rome time. Then came Gaul. In 451, Attila invaded the Western Empire. The Romans and the Visigoths made a desperate alliance. They met him at the Battle of the Catalonian Plains, one of the bloodiest battles in ancient history. Attila was wounded, his army bled, but he survived, and he was not done. In 452, he invaded Italy. Cities emptied at his approach. No one stood in his way. But Rome did not burn, because an old man came to speak. Pope Leo I, unarmed, walked into Attila's camp. No guards, no sword. And somehow, Attila turned back. No one knows what was said. But the Scourge of God rode north. 1 year later he died. A wedding, a night of drinking, a sudden nosebleed, or assassination. There was no great war, no dramatic duel, just death. But it was enough to end an empire. Attila was dead, and with him died the spell of fear. His sons fought each other, his generals broke apart, and the peoples they once ruled rose in rebellion. In 454, at the Battle of Nidau, the Germanic tribes turned on their former masters. The Huns, so long feared, were shattered. In just one generation, the empire was gone. The Huns who had shattered Rome's borders were no more. Some were absorbed by the Bulgars, others vanished into the steppes, a few remained as mercenaries and warbands. But the terror was over, or was it? Because the fear, the legend, remained. Attila became a myth. To some he was the devil made flesh, to others a warrior king cursed by God. His name became a weapon, long after his bones had turned to dust. The Huns disappeared, but their storm had changed the world forever. This was the story of the Huns, Nomads, warriors, nightmares, and the Empire of Fear follow for more history.